All right, welcome everybody. We'd like to call the meeting to order. Um, I need a motion to adjourn executive session and move into the public meeting.
Second.
Right. All in favor? All right. If we can stand for the pledge.
And nation under God.
A brief adjustment to our agenda. We are going to start with our student BOE remarks as Caitlin needs to get home to study for a test, I understand.
Yes.
All right, so tell us what's going on.
Okay, so this past Tuesday we had our blood drive, which was a success with over 42 donations. And this is combined of the students as well as this year we were able to open it up to the Red Hook community. So we had members of the community be able to come in and donate, which was amazing and went very smoothly. Student Council has begun planning of their NYCLSA conference and as well as the annual food drive. Um, in terms of different classes, the class of 2025 has begun to fundraise for their senior events with a dine to donate at Texas Roadhouse coming later this month. Um, in the class of 2026 has begun planning for their winter ball, which will take place on December 6th. In terms of sports, fall sports seasons are well underway with sectionals beginning over the next 2 weeks. Boys varsity had their senior night yesterday. Girls varsity has theirs tomorrow, and volleyball is next Tuesday. Players from the boys golf team have qualified for sectionals that will take place in the spring. The qualification for that was yesterday. Um, Mentor Club has begun a hurricane relief drive, so they're going and receiving donations to help those that were affected by the recent hurricanes. And the National Honor Society has begun a toy drive, which will be going on throughout the winter months.
Thank you. Good luck on your test. You're dismissed.
Thanks.
All right, I'll turn it over to Dr. Warden for very important recognitions.
So can you hear me? Is this on? I'm going to start with our recognition for the wonderful Martha Strever. If she would come over to the podium and Stacy Smith would come over as well. So so Martha, we're having you here tonight. So on behalf of the district and the Board of Education, I want to express our deepest gratitude for your 64 years of dedicated service to our students. Your commitment is truly inspiring, reminding us all the joy that comes with working with young people, as we had in our conversation the other day. Your ability to adapt to the evolving landscape of education exemplifies resilience and passion. As you know, we're in times of teacher shortages, and it's a huge challenge to school districts. Your dedication serves as a powerful example to all of us that there is a lot of joy in teaching. And we want to thank you for your remarkable impact and unwavering service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Exciting.
So good evening. My name is Stacy Smith. I'm the principal at Linden Avenue Middle School. I want to thank the board for recognizing Martha Strever. It's been an interesting few months. In September, Martha Strever started her 64th year of teaching at Linden Avenue Middle School. 65th year if you count her year of student teaching, which was also at Lambs. We learned last month that Martha is currently the longest standing teacher in New York State and the longest active member of NYSUT, which is the teachers union. In August, we applied Martha for 2 Guinness World Records. The first is the longest teacher in a single school building. The current record is 57 years. The second is the longest teacher of math female, and the current record is 51 years. Both records she's already beaten. So we're waiting on the official word back from Guinness. On Saturday, we will be attending a gala at SUNY New Paltz where the Alumni Association will recognize, and Martha's academic sorority will be honoring her and recognizing her career. She earned both her bachelor's and master's degrees at SUNY New Paltz. And a new development this week, we learned that the CBS morning show will be coming to Lambs for an interview, and which will air on October 28th. So all of this following the wonderful article that was in Education Week that recognized Martha in an online article as well as video. And then we learned that she was actually the cover of their print version. So people have been asking how Martha's handling the attention. And we've been saying bit by bit, Martha is one of the humblest people you'll ever meet. And I believe this sort of attention has been challenging at times. But we, the folks around her, have been reminding her that it's well deserved as she has had and continues to have an extraordinary career. I want to just highlight a couple of career highlights for us. Martha is certified in both math and science, which I think some people don't realize. Yeah, and she received her master's degree, earned her master's degree in 1966 when master's degrees weren't required for New York State teaching certification. She was the first female department chair for the math department, which was a position she held for 49 years. Martha also brought the first computer program to the Red Hook Central School District in 1984, first by learning herself how to operate computers by taking classes at the local Radio Shack and then implementing the first program. She was the 8th grade advisor for 13 years, student council advisor for 18 years, and the yearbook advisor for 37 years. For decades, Martha has taught accelerated math sections, serving our highest achieving students, a role she felt very proud to fulfill. In 2021, Martha started working with our highest need students and found a real calling working with special education instruction. When we ask her students what they love, they say they love the way she explains concepts and breaks down the material. Martha is committed to making sure they get it, and that sort of persistence is what every student needs, especially our special ed students. Teacher efficacy is one of the highest measures of student academic success, and teacher efficacy is the belief that students have that their teacher believes in them. So when a student recognizes that my teacher believes in me, that's the highest marker for student achievement, and I believe that is at the heart of Martha's instruction. Former students, now accomplished adults, often speak of how Martha's words of encouragement and mnemonic devices still echo in their minds. Colleagues marvel at her fierce independence and determination, endless enthusiasm, and ability to connect with each new generation of students. Martha, your legacy is not just in the lessons you've taught, but in the lives you've touched and continue to touch. You've shown us that teaching is more than a profession, it's a calling. Your dedication has been a testament to the power of education to change lives and shape the future. We honor you today, not just celebrating 63 years, 49 days and counting. We're celebrating a timeless impact of a great teacher, an impact that will continue to ripple through generations. On behalf of all your students you've taught and the colleagues you've inspired and the community you've served, we thank you. It's been truly a gift to all of us, and your influence will be felt for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're the boss.
This is almost taller than me. You noticed I'm standing on the side for that reason. I'm living in a dream right now, and I know that because I never even thought of this through all the years that I've taught. But Stacy really said the words for me that I love my students. Yes, there are some that suddenly are disruptive, try to be, but I try to reason out with them. And some people will say, how can you be in the classroom now? And there'll be teachers that are within 2 years of being able to retire. And I said, I've adjusted. I know that some of you that have had me, that how strict I was, but it was to reach the goals that I have for my students. And I've had to adjust that. I admit that. I it's almost like thinking you negotiate how to get them interested today, because after COVID, I will have to admit, the students don't say 65 is all right. No, it's not, because maybe next year when you get the harder work, that's not going to happen. So I do enjoy it, but I want to point out it's the family at Red Hook Central School District. Everybody, we've worked together and you've been so supportive of me, and I thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, we have a certificate for you. If you want to go around and just. Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you.
So I also want to recognize the Board of Education. There is a week where you're all recognized, but of course, we recognize you throughout the year. I personally would like to thank you for your dedication to the school district. As many of you in the audience know, and I myself know, this is a volunteer position. So everybody's here because they really enjoy education and want to be there for children. So your leadership and time and commitment is really important to all of us, and we appreciate it. It helps us to thrive as a school district, knowing that we have deep conversations about our future and we really care about each individual in our organization. Um, you actually navigate challenges really well as a group, and I think you're always thinking about our future next month, next year, and even 10 to 20 years from now. So I deeply appreciate your service, and I know the school district does, the community, and all the staff and faculty as well. And we appreciate the positive impact that you continue to have, and thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
Kimberly, thank you. Kate, thank you. And Jennifer, thank you. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
So I think we were going to take maybe about 5 to 7 minutes to have a little reception to Martha. You can't go anywhere. You're leaving your party.
We're having food for you.
We were just going to stop for a second, let everybody personally also congratulate you with just a few refreshments. Well, you have to wait 5 minutes.
Do that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, quick 5 minutes.
I gotta tie these to make sure that you guys are getting.
Right.
gotta try and get it done by like 8:45. My daughter needs me to pick up pictures at CBS for a project she's doing. And they close at 9. Worst case, we get them in the morning, yeah. Oh, yeah, pending, because thanks for coming. All right, if we're ready to restart, that brings us to the independent external auditors report. Absolutely, you're up.
Dun-dun-dun.
Yes, and first, one we have to vote to accept, but do we have any questions? Anybody? Okay, then to accept the external auditors report, do I have a motion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. That brings us to the presentation on mental health and wellness by Dr. Hayes. Or just wellness, okay.
I'm actually going to invite Mr. Punigello to come on up here and join me because he deserves a lot of the credit. So yesterday was a very busy day here at Red Hook, an exciting day though. So I just want to touch on a few things that we did yesterday specifically for wellness. And I'm going to start with the next slide on environmental wellness. So we had our solar panel ribbon cutting ceremony yesterday, which was very exciting because the idea for this actually took root in 2011, but it wasn't until 2019 that there was an official board action to put in solar panels. So Red Hook now has 1,200 solar panels distributed throughout each of the 3 buildings, and we estimate that they generate enough power for about 30% of our electric usage. And we also estimate that we're saving about $80,000 in utility credits every year, which is great. So those are fully on. And I think, and Bruce can correct me, I think we're one of the few schools in Dutchess County that has fully functioning solar panels at all of our buildings. So it was a really exciting day. We were joined by the New York Power Authority and Solar Liberty. They were both really instrumental in getting this project to happen for us. We had high school students join us, which was great. Our former superintendent, Paul Finch, came and he spoke. Dr. Warden spoke. We had both representatives from the town and from the village. So it was an exciting day. There was a tour on the roof after of the solar panels, but we're really excited that this project is complete and functioning for us. Next slide. We also had, so I don't know if you've been out back at Mill Road, but we now have a path that connects the primary side to the intermediate side. This has been something that we've been trying to do for at least the last 10 years. So it was really excited to see it come into fruition. And it lends a level of accessibility for the back. As many of you know, we have a beautiful garden out back, but it was really difficult for some of our students with mobility issues to get back there. So now we have a nice paved blacktop path that goes, like I said, from the primary side down to the garden. It also connects to the intermediate side. And Dr. Boyd chose Mr. Menz to dedicate the path to, which was great. Paul has been an employee here for 40 years, and he's dedicated all of his time specifically to Mill Road. He's an incredible asset to our staff, loves the kids, does a great job, and I think that was really touching for him. So he was the official ribbon cutter at our wellness fair ceremony. So that kicked off our events yesterday afternoon, which was great. Next slide. And then we have the wellness fair. So we invited, this was our first wellness fair. As many of you know, Larry Anthony runs our wellness committee. At our meeting last spring, we were talking about all the different things that we do in the district for mental health, physical health, and our just kind of our social health, and a way to celebrate that and really kind of share with the community all the great things that we do. So we decided to do a wellness fair. And yesterday was the day, was great. So Matt made this beautiful flyer. We had invited everybody in the community. We had several hundred people. We estimated over 400 people come to be part of the event, which was great. Next slide. So I'm going to let Matt talk about our passport.
Excellent. So we had tons of activities that were planned as part of the event yesterday, really showcasing the best of Red Hook in all of the areas, mind, body, and heart, of course. And so trying to figure out how we can engage, especially students, in exploring all the things that Red Hook offers. It came up in our planning meetings that it might be rather fun to have sort of an interactive activity that's part of the exploration of the best of Red Hook Wellness. And so we had a passport that was created that was given, one passport was given to each student that came yesterday, and they went around to all the activities, the lawn games, the mindful art making, all the different things that were there. They got stickers that showed that they had reached their achievement in the areas of physical wellness, mental wellness, and social wellness. And upon the completion of their passport, they were able to turn that in, and they got a raffle ticket, and their parent got a raffle ticket as well. And so there was a whole, I was shocked by how many prizes there were. There's a lot of amazing community support. And so we were giving away bikes and soccer club memberships and all sorts of really, really incredible things. And like, I'm telling you, the spirit of this activity was like the kids were just having a ball with it. And so there was, I know Dr. Summers mentions joyful noise, and there was a lot of joyful noise yesterday as the students were going around participating in all the activities, which was great.
Yeah, the fair yesterday was fantastic. It was so well organized and attended. It was great.
Lucked out. So just to highlight a couple activities that we did for mine. Next slide. We had our art department from both the primary and intermediate side come and do mindful art. So they just really did a lot of activities to help students reduce their stress. So they had a bunch of different art activities, mindful coloring, mandalas, autumn pictures. Next slide. This was exciting. So Corey Wickerwitz is one of our high school math teachers. She brought a therapy dog, which was a huge hit with the kids. And it was great because they learned the difference between a therapy dog and a service dog. She talked about what the role of a therapy dog was. They obviously got to love on the therapy dog, which was really great. So that was a big hit. Next slide. Our SEL team from the high school and the Mill Road combined, and they did a mindful scavenger hunt. They also did, they had stress balls and sleep masks that the kids could decorate. The high school has done, I think the last 2 years, a wellness fair for their students. So they were able to talk a little bit about that. So it was great that they could come down here and join us, and they talked about the services that they offer. So I think parents got a nice broad perspective of everything from when their child enters pre-K all the way through 12th grade of different things that we do in our SEL department. Next slide. We were really fortunate to have the Red Hook Public Library come join us. That was great. I don't know, what were they making? Do you know? What was it? Buttons? Oh, okay. Yeah. And the library does really amazing program in the community. So that was nice for them to highlight different things and activities they have for the kids around town. I know they have a very robust summer program, which a lot of our families take advantage of. So they were able to talk about that. Alex is great. So it was a really, really special that they were able to join us. Next slide. For body, we had, I think probably 25 to 30 Mill Road teachers come and join us to volunteer their time to do activities. But Larry, of course, was there. Larry got the New York Dairy Council and Hudson Valley Fresh to come. We had a calf that was literally 36 hours old, was just born on Tuesday. So that was really exciting. They carried it in like a baby, and I was a little nervous about all the kids, but the owner said that they really enjoyed it and loved the cold, so it was perfect weather for the calf. But Larry's group made smoothies. We had apples. He talked a lot about, just the local connection, farm to table movement that we've been so invested in. So that was great. Next slide. We had a bike demonstration. So as you know, we talked about the Red Hook Education Foundation was generous enough to provide grant money for Mill Road to purchase bikes. So those bikes were available and kids were able to ride them around the path, which was exciting. Next slide. These were just some of the activities that the Mill Road teachers provided. We had balance beam, beanbag toss, sack races. Next slide. Frisbee, ring toss, obstacle course. It's hard to capture because it was so spread out on the path. Everybody that was there, but it was really crowded, which was great to see. Next slide. And then for our heart activities.
Great. So one of the exciting projects that I get to work on right now as a administrative intern working with Dr. Warden is a Red Hook Reads project, which is essentially community reads, like a big read. Sometimes you'll hear them called in other locations. So the plan is that beginning in January, we as a community are going to come together to study The Anxious Generation, which is a fairly important book that was just published this past March and has sort of taken the nation by storm because it sort of tries to answer the quandary as to why there is an epidemic of mental illness in adolescence. And so really interesting information in the book, rather sobering information in the book that offers an amazing opportunity for our community to gather with one another to sort of come up with some solutions as to how we can improve student experience and student mental wellness. So there's a lot that's sort of in the works right now. A lot of it is in pencil, but we're getting close to reaching for that pen to make it permanent. But we are about to kick off our faculty book study on Monday. Actually, we have at this point we have over 50 faculty members that will by the end of the year will have read and studied and have conversations about this book. And then beginning in January, we're going to be working with some community partners, namely the Red Hook Education Foundation, who will be donating books to the community to read, along with the Red Hook Public Library and Tivoli Free Library, and we'll be doing community book studies, and we'll be culminating all of this celebration in a panel discussion and community meal. So more on that later, but we were able to sort of have a soft launch of this Red Hook Reads program at the Wellness Fair. Thank you.
So Bruce and Scott braved the cold and ran a solar project table. It was great. The kids were anxious just to get their stamps, but Bruce made them sit through the whole presentation in order to get their sticker. That was great. The parents asked him good questions, and we were able to highlight all the things that we've done for the solar project. Next slide. So this was exciting. We had Cindy Cubic came in, she did kind of an improv joke on the stage, the outdoor stage that we've had for several years. And then the end pictures are a couple pictures of kids getting their prizes. Like Matt mentioned, we had bikes donated by Dave's Tree Service. I mean, the community outpouring of support was really incredible for this event. Next slide. We had the Raiders Sports Club there. We had Future Farmers of America there to represent their club at the high school, talk to kids. They obviously brought a tractor in, which was a lot of fun. Next slide. And we had the capital project. We had many board members there. And this was actually really great to highlight the capital project at the fair because the capital project and all of its components really hit on all of those different areas of wellness. Obviously, physical wellness with our athletics program, but also our physical education program, which I don't want to lose sight of because these proposed projects really gives all of the students in the district at the secondary schools access to those different areas inside the gym and outside on the fields to be able to use that. All of these events for the community obviously promote social wellness and then mental wellness. We know that kids, when they're involved in things and busy, it helps keep them, happier and more, just adjusted and better through school. So that was a nice way to end it. And then next slide, we want to thank all of our community donors. Like I said, a lot of love. We actually had pumpkins all along the path if you were able to come see, which was really great. People could take pumpkins home at the end of the night. And then lots of gift certificates, both for adults and for students, were able to go home with prizes. So overall, a really great day.
Yeah, was great.
It's good.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
I just wanted to make a comment. I don't want to take any of the thunder because there's a lot of really great things to comment on. But I just have to say, as a participant and a parent, I really appreciated the organization and the space. So if you didn't go, everything was spaced out so well that although there were all these people here, no one was running over top of each other, which is really great when there's a bunch of young children involved. And they all got to do all those outside activities. So it sort of spanned the scope of the outdoor space, which I also think is nice for parents who haven't got an opportunity to experience some of those outdoor areas at Mill Road. So I'm grateful for all the work that was put in the preparation. I think it went off really well. I'm hopeful that that will continue.
Thanks. Anybody else? All right. I think that those two are recognition of visitors. If you'd like to address the board, again, you have 3 minutes. Just come up, state your name so that our clerk can put it in the record. And when you get to about 15 seconds left, I'll just give you like a little subtle wave so you know. And just as a reminder, depending on the subject that you may be speaking on, we don't reference individual students or teachers by name. So with that.
Hi, my name is Kat. I am the parent to a child in 8th grade. And my daughter wanted me to say a few words about something that occurred in the middle school earlier in the year regarding the ammunition in the cafeteria. I want to know why it was a hold in place and not a lockdown. We didn't know if he had a gun or not. Before you say you didn't want to make us scared, know that I would rather be scared in the moment and know that I am kept safe. I would rather be scared in the moment and then than to not know what is happening and later find out someone was threatening to shoot up the school and brought ammunition. When you say you were keeping everyone safe, it doesn't seem like that to me. It feels like you had the school's reputation in mind. Wouldn't you want to feel, would you want to feel scared in the moment and then know you were safe later? Would you, the adults, want to feel fine in the moment and unsafe forever because you can't trust the people making decisions? I know that this wasn't the first offense of the student. He brought a BB gun on my bus because of a dare. If he was starting this in 5th grade, we should know to be careful of him. So again, how could you have a hold in place when you knew where the ammunition came from and you knew he had a history? How is that safe? He could have hurt the community and could still be a threat. Lastly, this student threatened the school and is still threatening to the school, saying things like he wants to take revenge. So, what are you doing to make sure that that doesn't happen? I would love to know. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of these topics, but the way you handled the situation showed me, a student, that if you didn't have the student's safety in mind, but the school's reputation, how am I safe? This is coming from a student's perspective and not an adult. It is amazing how unsafe I felt and still feel. I hope you remember this moment when thinking about future decisions. Thank you. Um, and I want to say that I directly encouraged her to speak to Mr. Brown or Miss Smith. And a result of all of this is that she doesn't feel safe to. And we have to ask ourselves as adults, how are we making students feel safe to approach us? And this is a student that used the counseling and student services very regularly in 7th grade and is right now really struggling and didn't want to say this to Miss Smith or Mr. Brown or speak here today and asked me to speak for her. And that's a question for us as adults to think about. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Normally we don't respond, but I would like to take the opportunity to say a couple things. If you're aware of threatening information, I would encourage you to contact someone from the school, particularly Stacy Smith. Um, we do take that very seriously. So if you are aware of information, please do contact Mrs. Smith, or you can speak with her, after this meeting. As it relates to safety protocol, there's parts of our safety plan and protocol that we don't disclose and don't explain why we do certain things. But to the extent that there is, some explanation again, that is appropriate to share, Mrs. Smith could do that. But thank you for your comments. Next, Frank, sure.
I mentioned to your honoree that a math teacher was responsible for much of the success I've had in many areas. Not unfortunately the one I'll talk about a bit later. On solar, I recall, it must be 10 years ago, suggesting putting up solar panels. Nice to see it's happening now. A week or two ago, there was a meeting, I think it was at 4:00, about pesticide application on the athletic fields. My personal view is that's a bad idea. A few years ago, I presented John Wargo's book to our town board. The book was titled Our Children's Toxic Future, due to that sort of thing. Lastly, I noticed that the plastic field is still being proposed for the upcoming vote. It's been rejected before, and I sincerely hope it will be rejected again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sure. Good audio technician work.
Okay. Whew. All right. Good evening. My name is Aisha Poes, and I am a passionate member of the Red Hook community and, of course, taxpayer. Like many of you, I deeply care about the well-being of our schools and the long-term impact our decisions have on our children and community. I also want to acknowledge that I am here because I was responded to by one of your school board members in a Daily Catch comment who invited me to get more involved. So here I am.
Tonight, I want to express my concerns not about whether or not we should have artificial turf or not, the vote is in 5 days, but rather about the way the proposed artificial turf field has been repeatedly presented to voters. The first time, voters were clear in rejecting it. The second time, it was bundled with other necessary improvements, which felt like an effort to force us into approving something many of us had already opposed. Now, although the proposals are split, this new proposition still feels like an attempt to push through a project we don't want by pairing it with vital safety upgrades that we obviously support. Frankly, I find this tactic offensive. Whether intentional or not, it feels as though the school board is disregarding the knowledge and desires of the community it serves. It is condescending to think that we can be pressured into accepting something we have clearly voted against by making us choose between rejecting important safety improvements or accepting an artificial turf field we have repeatedly made clear we do not want. I urge the board in the future to respect the voters' voices and to engage in transparent, straightforward decision making processes. We'd prefer that you just make a better case. Let us vote on the issues with full clarity and respect without tactics that undermine our ability to make informed decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tom Giorgio, head varsity football coach, head varsity baseball coach here at Red Hook, teacher at Pine Plains for over 22 years. Many ways we can go here. At this point, we are not going to change any minds of who's going to be voting for the turf field or any of the propositions that are going up 1, 2, or 3. We just need to get the folks out that did not vote in the past. And I think that's going to make the difference, because when someone has their mind made up about something that they disagree with or they're in support of, like at this point, a week later, we're not really going to change too much of that. But if the community settled for a no vote on the auditorium, we would still be the only school in Dutchess County without that. But with perseverance and constant support from the community, we did finally pass that auditorium vote. And it's the same situation we have here. A turf field is safer, a better option for what we have. It's going to give more support to all abilities, to all folks in the district, K to 12, the community as well. And whether people are against it, and that's fine, they have their opinions, it's what is best for the kids at this point and what is the safest option and the best option. And a turf field is going to be that option. When you think of a safety, for me, it comes to a safety point. I had just had a player have surgery today on a torn meniscus, out 6 months now, and it was because of that field. He slipped 2 weeks ago, and I saw it happen right in front of me, and it just gave right out underneath him. And that field was to blame for it. That's not happening on a turf field. His foot is not going to give out like that, and I'm not going to lose a player for 6 months and possibly my baseball season because of it. So, I mean, the field is unsafe. There's many, issues in terms of our fields, and this is going to help us in terms of allowing those fields to be manicured and maintained and become a safer environment for our practice fields and our other varsity fields. And that turf field is going to allow us to schedule and get those teams off of those grass fields so they can get the rest that they need. And it's going to open up so many opportunities for our kids to participate in the community from all ages. And I wish folks would just look at that side of it and not a plastic field or, it's doing this to the community and what are we doing to our kids? We're looking out for our kids because this is the best the best situation that we have. And we are going to push and push and push and have as many votes as possible until we get this passed.
Thank you. We have other people, and you've
Hi, good evening. My name is Jason Pavlich. I'm a 31-year resident of Red Hook, 25 years teacher at the high school, and 24 years as the girls varsity soccer coach. I'm here tonight to speak in support of all three propositions that are going to be on the ballot next week. The athletic facilities at Red Hook, which were once a great source of pride when I first started, are now actually kind of a cause for embarrassment. I don't think that the district is asking too much with what they are putting forth. The turf field is not meant to replace all of our grass facilities. There are currently 7 athletic outdoor spaces at the high school. We are looking to replace 1. Rather than replacing the grass fields, what it will do is that it will actually enhance our use of them, allowing for extended playing hours on a daily basis, extended playing seasons, allowing teams to get outside earlier in the spring and stay out later in the fall. It will allow for more community access to the fields, as what can happen is the turf field can take that extra workload, which the grass fields cannot. It'll also allow for better long-term maintenance of the remaining grass fields as we can cycle grass fields off and on, temporarily shifting the workloads to the turf field. I just wanted to state that I appreciate all the work that you guys have done, the administration and the board, in putting the pieces of this project together. I know a lot of thought has gone into it over the years. Overall, I believe that the benefits to the students of Red Hook and the community at large outweigh the possible risks, especially with these specific measures that you guys have taken to minimize those risks. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have other people that like to speak.
You might need your help. Okay. Everybody, I'm Sherry Monaco. A lot of people here know me. I'm an alumni, a parent, a taxpayer. I see this thing everywhere in our school district about how we engage, embrace, think, care, create, empathize, and collaborate with a raider with a spear, promoting violence. It's all over our schools. In October of 2018, I first asked for support and guidance from our district professionals for one of my children. As the years passed, I continued to advocate and raise awareness and the need for supports for a child living with neurodivergence and medical diagnoses. Back then it presented as anxiety, which is interesting given tonight's book choice. Over the past year, that diagnosis no longer covered the health needs for that student as she fell down the stairs of LAMS and struggled to stay organized and atop of schoolwork. In February, I discovered a break in parent portal had left me seeing marking period 1 grades under marking period 2's heading, so I didn't know my child's grades were declining and she needed more help. In March, I asked for a 504. In April, I asked for a parent-teacher conference that was not scheduled until I asked again in June, when I also asked for updates and support in expediting the 504 process and getting a plan in place in advance of the next school year. In May, I requested the Committee for Special Education review my child's need for educational supports, and in August, the CSE committee convened at first recommending the 504 that I had originally requested back in March. They said the 504 would provide more flexibility in supporting my child's medical needs. My child lives with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS. It's one of the long COVID diagnoses. She lives with dizziness, nausea, fatigue, headaches, chronic illness symptoms. She has already missed school multiple times, and I picked her up from the nurse today to bring her to a doctor for the ear, throat pain that has been recurring over the last few weeks. The CSE did agree to the IEP following my insistence that she qualifies for an IEP under other health impairments. That IEP was due by August 30th. I received it on September 20th, 3 weeks late and 2.5 weeks into the academic year. It contained inaccuracies and incomplete data, including the exclusion of psych ed recommendations 3 through 8. It left out clinically significant findings, and it had inaccurate findings. I have engaged with my child's teachers this whole school year, trying to make sure they're aware of the accommodations and modifications that should have been in place before the school year and supporting her education. I've been doing everything I can with teachers who I think do their best to go above and beyond within their union contracts. I received a letter just last week telling me that the frequency and volume of my communications with our school staff and teachers is overwhelming and it's too much. That I need to consolidate my questions and my concerns into fewer, more direct communications and utilize the nurse for medical communications and the special ed case manager for academic. This letter is a letter trying to silence me and advocating for my child and your student. And I have done everything in my power to engage across our administration and our district and get the response my child needs here. I am now going to be filing complaints with NICED and with OCR and following up on whatever I need to do to advocate for my child. But I want to publicly say, as an alumni, as a taxpayer, and as a parent, I tried my very best to work with all of us and find a resolution. And I'm incredibly disappointed with the outcome of this and that families like mine are left further in crisis instead of supported when you're faced with a diagnosis like this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Medical.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Pascal. I'm a junior here currently at Red Oak High School. I play multiple sports. I play football, basketball, and baseball all at the varsity level. I'm standing here for you here today just because I want a new turf field for the future generations. I know if it gets passed, I will not be able to play on it, sadly. But I know that future generations will greatly benefit it from. My personal experience is on grass fields, I feel less safe than playing on a turf. Compared, like so far this year, we have played one game on a turf field. I can tell you right now, I have not been more nervous to play. And yes, I get it. Football is a violent sport. You are going to get hurt. But I feel that more non contact injuries because of the playing surface cause cause more serious injuries than like concussions or hits, getting hit. Um, Personally, I have had plenty of knee injuries. I've hyperextended my legs a couple of times just from slipping on our grass field. This weekend we have a home game. I'm hesitant to run as fast as I can, just because of how scared I am to that. Not because someone is going to hit me, because I'm going to get hurt from our grass. And going back to the one game we had on turf, I can tell you, I'm not scared that I'm going to lose my footing. I'm going to hyperextend my leg, or I'm going to roll an ankle in some divot that I don't know is there from a watering system. It's just the little things that I think will help benefit the greater generations or the future generations, that they won't have to think about when they could play other sports on that field. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Carolyn McDonald, and I'm going to piggyback off what Robert just said. I'm the mom of two varsity athletes. One graduated 2 years ago, and he played soccer. And I watched on more than one occasion him run down that soccer field at full speed and roll an ankle and twist a knee, because the field, it just can't be kept up with the amount of practice and the amount of play that happens. I've also had that same athlete be told by college coaches, we wish you had more play on turf, because that's where they play. And there is a significant difference going from a grass field to a turf field. It is a completely different style of play. And I have a junior who, just like Robert, won't benefit from the field. But I know how important it is, just the safety aspect alone. I've watched too many kids get carried off fields because it's not safe. It's not level. There's so many divots and so many holes that it's an unsafe environment for them to be in. And the turf field, I've just watched, he's playing on a turf field. My older son is playing on a turf field now at Ulster, and it's not one injury at all. And it's amazing, the difference just in going from grass to turf.
Anybody else? So you, yes, you can speak again. You spoke for about a minute and a half before, so you have another minute and a half.
Be real quick.
Okay, and one additional comment I didn't mention before. We don't do rebuttal, so if yeah. All right. I think that brings us to the end of recognition of visitors, and that's a superintendent update. Dr. Warden.
So Erin said a lot about the wellness fair. I just want to reiterate too that the solar panel ribbon cutting was a success. We're looking to reduce our carbon footprint, but also the energy cost burden that the district has. This will save us a lot of money. I think they estimated about the lifespan of the solar panels over $1.1 million for the lifespan of and that's for the school district. I also want to highlight some other things that are energy saving in the school district. Our new windows that are almost done here. We had some panel issues, so those are going to be done. Also, we have an ice-based cooling system at the high school. In our HVAC, we also have energy recovery wheels, which is all these things support our environmental goal. Again, like Dr. Hayes had suggested before, the purpose of the wellness fair was really to highlight the importance that we feel in the school district about social wellness and the increase that we're seeing with students across the past few years, that we wanted to have that time to talk a little bit about what's happening in the district and things that can happen at home. So again, we also promoted health, well-being. We also feel that the new proposition is also in line with the wellness fair. We feel that the importance of increasing wellness will have that with a new gym, with fields, lights that can increase our playing time, and also the surface of the fields will also increase that time. So again, our capital project vote is next week, the Tuesday, the 22nd, and the voting will be from 12 to 9 in the atrium. So it's not here this year, it's in the atrium. And we did that just because we can close that school off for security. And in past, we took over the Mill Road cafeteria. Also, other things that are up and running in the school district as far as facilities, we have our high school windowsills and shades are currently being installed. I made reference to our new cooling system that we have. We're having camera security upgrades. At Linden Avenue, as you know, you saw the new gym. They've put the curtain divider in as well. And we also have other camera upgrades. We also installed the electric for the transportation garage for electric buses. I just spoke to that Dr. Hayes this morning. When are we expecting those buses?
So they just put a request in to move up our production. So if it's granted, we're hoping by March.
So by March, we hopefully will have the electric buses. We're also looking at another round of EPA grants.
EPA is offering its fourth round of grants. And on our meeting today about EV buses, we were encouraged to apply again. So we'll give it a go.
Would those, if we got that, would that apply to the buses we've already ordered? This would be a new round for new buses?
Oh, it would actually, it could be, depending on when if it were awarded, when it was awarded.
So it could,
We have it, yeah, we have a 15-month window for these, so it's a little bit longer than most, but
okay.
yeah.
Even cheaper.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right.
Shall say. So we have the electric ready for it. We also in Mill Road, we're putting up the shades and windowsills too, and again, finishing the windows themselves. Also the new playground equipment. If you were there last night, you saw some things were flagged off over there. We're finishing the playground. Thanks also to the board for approving. Now we have 2 sanders for the winter time. Hopefully we won't need them, but they're there, which is it's hugely supportive of getting the district ready for when we have snowstorms the night before, but which you're not going to have. at the high school, there's so many great things going on. They had Spirit Week, homecoming, as Caitlin specified before. We've been talking to the board about the Blue Ribbon Commission, but do know that department chairs and administration have been talking about what that's going to look like for the school district and what professional development is going to need to be put in place. We should have more information in November. I'm sure you'll hear that and also your alerts of what the state's going to be recommending when it comes to curriculum and assessments and moving forward with the school. We will also have a presentation soon on IB for all. I know that that was part of our equity goal and working towards increasing IB for our students. So we'll have some more information regarding that as they're beginning their learning portfolios right now. We have our school counselors, and Ms. D'Onofrio was meeting with our ninth grade students to reintroduce School Links, which is a learning style inventory for students to have throughout their high school career. Also, college visits are in place. We're also, another thing that you probably have read is that school districts in New York are now required to do the FAFSA in school. So we're figuring that out. Is Kyle here? So I know that that's something that came new to us in the school district. That was never something that schools did before. So now we're required to work with students on, I don't know if anybody ever has complete the FAFSA before. It can be a complex process, but did you say yeah? So that will also help us with our financial aid night to talk to parents about that. So we're required, the state wants every student to fill a FAFSA out. So that's why they mandated it in high school. But that's just an additional thing that we're trying to figure out when we're going to do that, how that looks. And I think you're still in that process right now, right? Figuring it out. Okay. Got it under control.
FAFSA doesn't.
Well, yeah, right. This past year, it was really difficult for families and students. And I think a lot of students deferred going to college because they weren't sure about how much money they were going to get. So we don't want that to occur. In Lambs, you could see that there's many pictures that Stacy shared with you. We're really excited to hear that the Red Hook Parent Teacher Association, the PTSA, has rechartered, which is going to be great to promote that collaboration, engagement of families, and have that as a resource. I know as a principal, that's really important to have that. So we're happy to hear that. I know that I'm going to move over to Mill Road for a second. I know that Mr. Funigello spoke a little bit about the book read that he's going to be doing, but right next to him at that table, there was a concept called Let's Grow that's going on in Mill Road right now, where they will periodically assign homework assignments that has kids to go outside and do something new and on their own, such as making breakfast, climbing a tree, running an errand. It's also to stretch the boundaries of childhood just a bit. It's also designed to promote independence, resilience, and encouraging students to take on more age appropriate responsibilities and challenges. And that is directly in line with our book study that we're going to be doing and we're going to be talking to families about as well. And we continue to do the literacy work in the elementary school. I'm sure you've heard many also in the journals that you're reading, the science of literacy. So we looked at our existing literacy components, like Dr. Summers has said many times, and we continue to do that work to make sure that we're having that balanced approach, especially those early years. And we started a new program here called Language Explorers, where students that have the literacy gap due to language are staying after school and having learning about different critical thinking skills and language development. So we're excited to see that. And I think that's
Excellent. Any questions for our illustrious superintendent?
like the pack. Sorry, the Performing Arts Center, like that, we call that little area the atrium.
Jen? Oh, you look like you. You look about to say something. All right. Well, that whoops. That brings us now to, well, the administrative reports. I think we all have those. I don't know if anyone had any comments from reviewing them. No? Okay. On our BOE review committees, the Community Engagement Advisory Committee is a new committee. I think a couple of us received a draft charter. We have to decide how we want to structure that. Um, Jen, I'm not sure if were you, I'll forward that to you. I think Elena put together a draft charter. If we're going to have an official board committee, we need to have a charter. And so there was some language in there. I think the main thing is what the makeup is. Obviously, there would be board members. There were suggestions about having potentially other people from different organizations of the community on there as well. But I think that's something that perhaps the uh, Community Engagement Committee, when they meet next month, can discuss. Um, well, not an official committee yet because you won't have your charter, but you can discuss your charter. Does that make sense?
Committee that we had was, somebody help me, advocacy, right? So
Yeah.
if we want to abolish that committee and
We can we can vote to create this one. I assume I'd normally look to Elena here for guidance, but I'm going to take yours.
take my,
All right.
not as good as her.
Sure. All right. So a motion to create the Community Engagement Committee. Kelly and Jen.
I think there was language that Elena used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Yeah. And I'll make Jen, I'll make sure you get it. We actually, before we can just share it with the whole board, but the committee should discuss the charter and talk about the makeup and whether or not we want to keep that limited to just board members or other people from the community. So, second, the Red Hook Education Foundation, great organization. They've asked if, because as part of their charter, um, uh, or their bylaws, they need to have a school board member representative at their meetings. It would be a bit of a task to have the same person each meeting. I think they meet once a month. But we talked, and I talked with one of their members who reached out and, said we'd be glad to have somebody and perhaps on a rotating basis. So um, I'll get back to Paul. I had gotten back to Paul Byrne and let him know we would do that. And Kelly, I think, you or you, I, yeah, I can ask Paul to give us a schedule and find out when the next one is. And then
Josh, is it
Josh, do you know?
like the first Thursday or?
Oh, when we were talking about, yeah, we were talking about. I spoke with Paul Byrne about having a board representative, kind of on a rotating basis, attend the Education Foundation meetings. Do you know when the next meetings are and how often do you meet? All right. Do you have a? Do you have? Is there a list? Like, if I asked Paul to send or Laura to send a list, they could. I'll I'll reach back out to Paul and we'll get somebody there for the 9th. Oh, sorry, Thursday the 7th. Okay. All right. Kelly or Austin, you two or Jen, one of you three want to make the 7th. Oh, we have the meet and greet. We can't make the first one.
We'll get there.
Well, we have Thursday meetings, so yeah. Well, yeah. All right. All right. I'll talk to Paul. Yeah, so speaking of the meet and greet that we have on November 7th, we need to talk about structure, format, how we want to do that. I know we touched on it earlier briefly, but any thoughts, suggestions?
I think for the meet and greet, to me, it would be nice to elicit some specific feedback from the community as toward our board goals, being the interaction with the community and the board, so that they can give us some feedback. But and an informal setting, but still have structure.
So if we wanted to structure it around the board goals, maybe what I could do is take our board goals and streamline them a little bit, condense them a little bit to shorter kind of bullets, because some of them are like multiple sentences. If we wanted to structure an agenda, it's kind of hard to have like line items as multiple sentences, but maybe I can take the board goals and take a shot at synthesizing that into shorter statements and into what those topics would be. Now, I think our board goals, they do fall into a couple categories. So it could be those categories.
Yeah.
Is there a way that we could potentially gather some feedback ahead of time? Because I understand, and of course I welcome feedback, but I also think it's a very good opportunity for dialogue and education transparency. We always hear that word over and over about transparency. And I think a lot of, there's a disconnect in terms of like understanding of like our role and how we process. Like, I think it can be more of a give and take. I mean, I'm very happy to receive feedback, but if there's a way for us to solicit some maybe ideas ahead of time, that can help us sort of be prepared with some topics that people might want to learn more about. You know what I mean? So it's like structure in that way. I don't know, maybe a survey out to the community saying, hey, this Board of Education is going to do this. Here's some high level topics. Is there anything specific that you'd like to learn more about? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's a give and take.
Yeah, we could certainly look at.
Thursday monkey. Two questions.
Well, we have to think about how we what questions we ask so that we get the right feedback. Yeah, but it's certainly. Any other thoughts? I mean, I think organizing it around our board goals, keeping it some structure, but it originally was called a meet and greet. We may, for Kate's Chat GPT work, change the name a little bit, but yeah, but
input, getting input from the community that can be very directly translated into and connected to the work that we do as a board. And maybe that also connects to what you're saying, Kate, is communicating about what that means. What do we do? And I hope that that could also generate some interest in the community in being future board members and attending the meetings and understanding what kind of happens here and connecting to it a little bit more.
Yeah, I think good point. I may follow up with you on that. I think you were hitting on something. Yeah. All right. Well, I tell you what, I'll take the effort then of over the next couple of days working on something, getting it around, and we'll use that as a way of developing some framework. All right. Any other comments from the board on any particular topics? No? All right. We do have a very long consent agenda. I think first, do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Wait, who was first? Kate was first and Jen was second. All right. Any questions, comments on anything on the consent agenda? There's some field trips here, a lot of payments.
I was curious about the theater consultant. Um, does that role also include anything to do with the sort of English language arts department? Is there a connection there with the theater English courses that we offer as well?
I wouldn't be able to give you exactly a detail at this point, but yes, there is a collaboration because we've talked about the front of the house, the back of the house, and having that collaboration. He's not a certified teacher, so there'd always be the theater but production, but also having students more engaged with the back of the house.
Anybody else? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That brings us to personnel agenda. Was there an adjustment to item 15, or are we pulling item 15, or what?
We just have to make an amendment to item 15, but before we do that, I think that we just wanted to say a couple words about Chris Byrne. So her retirement is on the agenda for tonight, but Chris passed away on October 5th. And she was a longtime employee. She served in the K2 office for over 35 years as one of our clerical staff, and she was a staple and a rock in that office. And she, I know, was loved by many family members and a huge advocate for the kids, and really dedicated all of her time here, and unfortunately lost her battle to cancer a couple weeks ago. So her retirement is on the agenda tonight, but we just wanted to recognize her and acknowledge all of her hard work.
Thank you.
And I think just a quick moment of silence for her.
So yeah, we have to make an amendment on item 15.
Is that, can you tell us what that is?
Yep. So under winter coaching assignments, we have to make one change to the indoor track. So currently what you have in front of you is there's a split stipend between Kim Goldhirsch and John Alessi. The amendment is that John Alessi will be the head coach and Kim will be a volunteer. So that stipend will be adjusted to John instead of split. He'll get the full stipend as the head coach, and then Kim just wants to volunteer her time.
Okay. So first I need a motion. Second? So then we'll vote on, personnel items 1 through 15 with the amendment on the stipend, as Dr. Hayes mentioned. All in favor? Aye. And that brings us to our second recognition of visitors. We have anybody that would like to speak? Right.
Frank Stoppenbach from Red Hook. A few weeks ago, I had a very, very small connection to a history-making event, which oddly has not been covered in the media. I need to give you some background. In 2014, then Vice President Biden was the point man on Project Ukraine, with helpers Antony Blinken and Victoria Nuland and a bunch of agencies. The idea was to create and use tensions between Ukraine and Russia to bring Russia down. This all led to the current Ukraine war. However, far from collapsing, Russia seems stronger and is clearly winning the war, with Ukrainian front lines buckling and in danger of collapse. What to do? Blinken, now Secretary of State, meets with Ukraine's president, former president actually, and the proposal is to use US and NATO long-range missiles to sow chaos deep in Russia. These missiles can only be operated by US or NATO soldiers using satellites, which Ukraine does not have. In effect, the US and NATO become direct combatants in the Ukraine war. Blinken comes home, and the US government is to meet in Washington with its United Kingdom counterparts to agree on long-range missile use and hold a joint press conference to that effect. By coincidence, I was manning a table questioning the Ukraine war in Rhinebeck just before that meeting, and a man came up and wanted to discuss Ukraine with me. We did that, and he said he was a member of the UK government, apparently taking a weekend break in charming Rhinebeck. So far, that war has cost $1,300 for each US household and cost Ukraine, by one estimate, 600,000 soldiers. The UK and US officials did meet, but then left without any announcement or press conference. What happened? It seems just hours before teeing up World War III, the Secretary of Defense said no. One of the most amazing stories of this century, and you have to go to alternative media to learn about it. I want to ask also parenthetically, why is Mr. Biden unable to run a debate making decisions that could lead to war? Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. With no, I think we're if it's
Simple
relevant
note
to
was
school,
not
if it's
allowed
relevant
to
to
be
school
fed
board business.
in the Rhinebeck Town Board.
Right. And with that, that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion? All in favor?